Welcome into tonight's broadcast high atop Powell Davis Stadium here at Venice High School. Josh Grant and the best color man in the business, John Massoni. It's the 4S state semifinal matchup between the Buchholz Bobcats and your Venice Indians. I know every week I start this off with I'm excited to be here, John, but you could feel it in the air throughout the stands. You can feel it up here in the press box. Everybody is ready to go for this one.
Yeah, I mean, the town's hopping. I mean, you can see it was palpable all week that you could see everybody was into a lot of phone calls and text messages as to what's going on and how's the team look and what's Gainesville Buchholz look like, what to expect. So yeah, everybody's on I guess on that razor's edge and looking to see a great football game tonight.
And you could feel it at school all day long. The last morning music of the season, the kids were asking questions, the kids were hyped up, they were ready to go to watch your Indians take on Buchholz tonight and hopefully head back to Fort Lauderdale in 2 Saturdays from now. Let's take a look at how the Indians got here last week, a 35-15 win over the Riverview Rams. The running game leads again. Alvin Johnson, 13 carries for 104 yards and 2 scores. Brooks Bentley, 6 carries for 35 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Gator Wilder, 6 carries for 40 yards and 1 touchdown. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that offense continued to develop throughout the week, but just an outstanding effort on the ground for your Venice Indians.
Yeah, again, the Indians took what the Riverview Rams gave them. There was a disparity in plays regarding Venice versus Riverview, but nonetheless, the running game was the key to the matchup, and we really seem to find our way end of the second quarter into the third.
And the running game, again, just continues to churn out yards and be productive. Even when Brooks couldn't find it through the air, 9 of 17 for just 77 yards. Riverview didn't give much in the passing game, but they gave up a lot in the running game. Yeah,
and again, that's the idea. Take what they give you. And at that point, they had put their Charles Lester on Ryan Matulovic, and he shut him down a little bit. And then Brooks threw efficiently when he needed to, moved around the pocket real well, kind of did what he needed to do. And then where needed, Alvin and Gator were the guys who sort of blew things open when necessary.
And despite that lack of a passing attack on Friday night, the offense was extremely efficient. Here's what you and Coach had to say on the Massoni and Peacock podcast on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and had another good performance from your guys in the backfield. The Brooks Bentley, again, poised under pressure, made some huge plays near the end of the first half, second quarter, and then guided the team. Didn't have gaudy numbers. 77 yards passing. 35.
We didn't have a whole lot of offensive plays.
No, 47, I think is what it ended up being.
Yeah, 47.
So there's 70 plays.
Yeah, so 47 offensive plays. Well, how many? So the twos took at least 6.
Oh, yeah, maybe 8. Maybe 8.
So really, we had 39
right
offensive snaps with the 1. So
very efficient is what I would say from the offensive side of the ball. But Brooks definitely led the way. I thought, then you hit Finn Jones early in the game.
Brooks threw a nice ball there.
He threw a nice ball, and it seemed like that there was not that there was a head scratching moment from Riverview or whatever, but a lot of people were like, wow, okay, so it is not just Ryan or Keon or Alvin, or there's more pieces to this puzzle. And I think when you saw that, I think that throw in particular seemed like everybody got in their groove, like it was quickly in the groove. And we've talked about getting off to fast starts. That seemed to be the indicator to a fast start for Venice in that situation. But no, all those guys we just mentioned, outside of Ryan Matulovic, they all made contributions. While none of them were, again, splashy. Alvin over 100 with a couple touchdowns, so that was good. But just highly efficient. The plays, yardage per play must have been close to, it had to be close to 7, 8 yards, 9 yards a play. And that's a good average to have in a high school football game.
Yeah.
So I figured about 39 plays for the starting offense last week, 5.94 yards per play with the starters and 5.16 yards per carry for both the running backs and quarterback Brooks Bentley. So efficient all throughout yards per carry, yards per attempt last week.
Yeah, again, that's you said there was efficiency to what was going on. We knew that Riverview was going to kind of slow it down and try to win the time of possession, which they actually did. But we were just very efficient. We moved the ball where we needed to, and then once we got it cranked up and figured out a few things, there was really a 4-play part in time in the third quarter where we just blew it open.
And that's what we talk about here towards the end of the second quarter. This was a tight one last week. Towards the end of that second quarter, Indians had just taken a 14-7 lead on this 6-yard touchdown run by Brooks Bentley with 1 minute and 10 seconds left. That's Bentley again. He'll keep it. Brooks Bentley in for the score.
And there's that run, and a key run by Brooks. I did mention one run he didn't kind of like, wasn't a lot of conviction in it, but the last two runs, there's been plenty of conviction in it. He took it in the end zone pretty easily.
Put the Indians up 14-7 at that point. Riverview got the ball back, gained 2 yards in the first 2 plays. Indians had 2 timeouts at this point. And then on the next play, it was a 3rd down. Dawson, the quarterback, threw over the middle, 15 yards, nowhere even near the tight end Luke Petito, which it ended up falling incomplete and essentially gave the Indians another timeout.
Yes, and that's what we were talking about. We said if they had run the ball on 3rd down, Venice might have got the ball back with maybe 15 seconds on the clock. And even though we blocked the punt on the play here coming up, you know, it's something that we had more time to get plays off afterwards, which was helped a lot for us.
So on the very next play on the punt attempt, Jaquavius Washington changed the entire game. Be back to punt. The snap is high. Oh, it's blocked by Washington. Dalen Platt will pick it up on the 28-yard line. Platt to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Fumbles into the end zone.
You're kidding me.
Oh, my goodness. They're going to say he was out at the 8.
Wow.
So that block punt, in a sense, not in a sense, it put the Indians inside the 10, put them on the 8-yard line after the 20-yard return by Dalen Platt. And then, you know, the offense took over. It was about 30 seconds left. There were a couple of plays, unnecessary roughness play that they tackled Finn Jones well out of bounds. And then the Indians had the ball on the 7-yard line, and Brooks Bentley took it in his hands once again. Steers in the slot. Bentley's looking. He's got to run. Got to get to the end zone. 5, touchdown, Brooks Bentley!
Very nice.
He couldn't find an open receiver and took the ball himself, and the Indians have a 20-7 lead.
Wow, what a change of right at the last minute and a half of this game, just the first half, just big momentum changer, and Brooks Bentley had a big part to do with that. Great play by him. That was an all or nothing play right there. He had to get to the end zone, otherwise they were going to go away with no points.
What a gutsy run there by Brooks. He was looking to throw it. He took the team on his back and forced his way into the end zone with about 13 seconds left and turned a 14-7 halftime lead into 21-7, and then just continued to roll from there. Stories
within the story in a football game. Coach Peacock said to me on Tuesday, he's like, I told him, you know, whatever you do, don't run. Because we and he said, you promised me? He said, yeah. And then he went ahead and ran. And he said, don't you promise you weren't going to run? He says, well, you know, he saw it. And, you know, sometimes you got to make that play, and that's what you take what you get. And what an advantage going from a 7-7 tie with a few minutes left in the half to a 21-7 lead.
And that completely took the Riverview game plan out of it. As, you know, they're going into halftime, getting the ball back in the second half. But now they had to come out and completely change their game plan, and they just couldn't keep up with that Venice Indian defense or the tempo offense.
Yeah, because the first drive, they knew they had to do something. It didn't really work for them. 3 plays, score, get the ball back again, 1 play, score. And again, and I will say this, we're talking offense and defense, but once again, the special teams made plays again. And so much of what we've seen over the years, wins and losses and playoffs, how much depends on, these teams are closely matched, how much it helps on special teams to have that little bit of an advantage here and there.
So 2 scores by Alvin Johnson, 2 by Bentley, and 1 by Wilder was the scoring for your Indians. And after the game, it was great to be in Coach's office. They were positive. They were ready to go for this week, and they're already starting to think about this game tonight against Buchholz. But what they don't hesitate to do is reflect on the amount of regional championships and the recent success that the Indians have had on this continued streak.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an unbelievable run the Indians have had. It's really been something to behold. Having games, having you know, marquee games on this field, having another chance at a state semifinal on this field. They're rare opportunities that happens, and here we are with 3 of them in the past 5 years or so.
And here's Coach talking about that with you on the podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, we've had a pretty good run with regional championships, and it's something that is it's special. I mean, you know, playing on Thanksgiving Day is always, or day after Thanksgiving is always a special time to be playing, a special time to be practicing. I think it's a great bond builder with your team. You know, so we're very humbled and thankful. You know, I think if you'd have asked me back in 2015, hey, I just want to, you know, or said, hey, Coach, I'm letting you know you're going to be playing in the 4th round of the playoffs the next 7 years in a row. You know, I don't think I would have believed you.
Right.
But so we're very humbled and grateful to get the kids and get the buy-in and get to this stage, really.
So 6 of the last 7 regional championships, and really that's the 2020 COVID-shortened season that did not count. But it illustrates the Indians have 1 state championship in that time. It illustrates how hard it is to get back to that state championship game. 6 basically straight regional championships and only 1 state title. Yeah,
and because unless you look at it, you say, was it just one team? Yeah, a little bit for us it was, but overall there were other teams winning, and so you get to this point every year, and you're really accomplishing something. This is the idea. Think about Riverview and Venice. Seeing how you have to go back and beat somebody twice. Gainesville Buchholz is a perfect example of it. Bartram Trail, they lost to them early in the year. They had to go back and play them again, and Buchholz got them. So a lot of times you see these paths as you get there. It's not an easy path. It's a lot of hot teams. It's a lot of teams that know who you are already. A lot of teams that have been there, perennial powers. So you've got to you face the best when you start going to the playoff system.
And as we'll talk about in a couple of minutes, it's like you said, it's not always the best teams. It's the hot teams. If you look at any professional sports playoffs, high school and college, it's the hot teams that get in. It's the hot teams that make some noise. So before we move on to see how Buchholz got here, let's take a tail of the tape of the 2 programs here, long successful programs in the state of Florida high school. Buchholz this year a 10-2 record. It's ranked 18th in the state. Best win was last week against Bartram Trail. Obviously, we looked at the playoff matchups. That was we were looking. You kind of predicted them to beat Bartram Trail. I didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't as confident, but you were right. They've won the state championships in 1990, and their most famous alumni there is the former quarterback, he was a Gators quarterback, longtime NFL quarterback, Doug Johnson. Obviously, look at your Indians, 8-3 record, 15th rate in the state. Ranked in the state, and I think I put this together. I think the marquee win this season was against Seminole, 24-17, about week 4 or 5, I believe it was. That was a big win at the time for this program.
Yeah, you looked at that because coming off a couple of tough games against. You had the IMG pregame, you had Northwestern, you had St. Francis, and you face the guy that was the defending 8A state champion from the year before coming into your place. Very talented team, and you went out there and had a slow start and went up winning 24-17. So, yeah, probably the one game that sort of kicked things off and got everything kick-started in the right direction.
State champs, 3 of them, 2000, 2017, and 2021. And there's the guy, Philly Trey Burton, defeating the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. So let's talk about Buchholz, 9-2 record, beat Bartram Trail last week. The Bartram Trail Bears were 12-0 at one point. The Indians needed a lot of help to get into tonight's state semifinal. Needed number 2 Osceola to beat number 1 Vero Beach, and they did. Buchholz was up 21-10 at the half, and the defense held the rest of the way. Quarterback Creed Whittemore, which we're going to hear a lot about tonight, scored all 3 touchdowns. 2 of them came off turnovers. 1 was an interception, and 1 was a fumble. Let's take a look. You guys talked a lot about Creed Whittemore. Let's take a look at what you talked about on the podcast on Tuesday night.
They have one of the most dynamic and explosive players that I've ever seen on film. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about I've ever seen on film. Their quarterback, I know his name. I'm not real good with names.
It's Whittemore.
Whittemore,
yes.
Yes.
The last name.
Because it's the dad's actually the head coach as well.
Yeah, and the brother, Trent Whittemore, played for Florida until about a week and a half ago when he went in the portal.
But he is an explosive athlete that is very scary to watch on film. I mean, he's and very rarely do you see this in high school, but he's a guy that I feel like can totally change the outcome of a game.
Right.
Like no matter who you're playing or no matter who he's playing.
He's got that, like especially in a game where, let's say, you're in from Friday night, it's 7-7.
Right.
Indians score, go 14-7, and all of a sudden he breaks contain out of the pocket, and you're 14-14. I mean, that's game-changing. There were some splash plays on everybody on the defense. Yeah. You had Trenton in the backfield. You had Damon in the backfield. You had Jack Huber 3 or 4 times in the backfield. So, I mean, I think that from a splash play perspective, I think there's a lot of that we see that when they need to, when they've had to in these bigger games, they have stepped up the defense quite a bit. Yeah. So That is like, again, you had a Charles Lester playing for Riverview, you know, and you say, wow, okay, what happens if he breaks loose? Well, if he don't get out of the backfield, that's a good
but
deal.
it's different kind of. He's a different kind of. He's a different kind of fast.
So like shifty, fast, or like
he's just
elusive?
really like you know, Charles Lester. You probably put them. Charles Lester probably has higher top end
on the
speed.
track. On the,
Well, no, the kid runs a 10. Like I said, I think a 10.78 or something. So they're probably tie. But you know, Lester probably end up catching him, catching up at the end.
Okay.
But he's like, you know, he goes from sitting back there, drop back in the quarterback, and then all of a sudden he's running a 10.700 right now.
Right.
And he's getting vertical with it, and so it's just he's just a different type of fast than Charles is. You know, that makes sense.
Right.
You know, Charles is much. You know, Charles 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", and I think he's listed at 5'11" maybe. So you can imagine Dree Archer compared to you know, whoever.
Like as far as speed is concerned,
right.
I know what you're saying. A long runner, a guy with
he's just he just start and go.
Right.
Right. And
but that's a little bit like what Keon Sears runs. Keon can go from nothing to two, 3 steps. He's at top speed.
Yeah. So it's just a little different. And the position he plays with that explosiveness, it just makes it a really scary situation. So obviously we're going to do everything we can to prevent those huge plays, and that's what obviously as a defense, that's always every defense coordinator says that we want to stop the big play. So they have quite a few players that can create big plays. So we have to be very sound and be in our correct position in our alignment and really rally to the football
and tackle well. Like always, so blocking and tackling is everything.
And that quote was telling. One of the most explosive athletes we've seen in a long time on film. Committed to Mississippi State after decommitting from the University of Florida. Have not had a good run with quarterbacks this week.
No.
UF. 4-star rated by 24/7 Sports. He's an 80 grade by ESPN and the 30th ranked quarterback. Likely to play receiver on the next level. This kid's going to give the Indian defense all they can handle tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Coach, he said he's, I think in that clip he said fastest kid he's ever seen come out of the backfield as far as those first 2 steps, and he's at full speed. So a guy who can make a play when things aren't going right.
Right.
Which we'd hope that our defensive line especially is going to cause chaos in their backfield. But he's a kid who can escape, and then actually what you think might be a negative play turns into a long run or touchdown, or who knows what it could turn into. So those kind of guys you always get scared with. Another thing that scares you too is you have a 3rd and 15. You got a good secondary, you got a good pass rush. He breaks the pocket, gets the first down. Those kind of things can wear on your offense when they're ready to go. So there's a twofold effect on that kind of stuff. So hopefully tackling is at a premium tonight, so make sure we're doing that well, and we can make sure that we kind of contain him he's going to make plays. Tonight you're going to see plays being made by both sides. So get used to that. It's not going to be what you think it's going to be. It's going to be plays being made, just a matter of keep him under control.
And the thing that I noticed about him is in watching the film that I was able to see this week, he moves almost as quickly laterally as he does vertically. Mm-hmm. I mean, this kid is shifty. He's in and out of the pocket, like you said. So those defensive tackles and defensive ends really got to try to contain to get him to stop him. Really.
Right. And the other thing too is so it is about assignment football in a lot of cases. That pass rush. Everybody watches Lamar Jackson and all these different guys that are now in the NFL. Josh Allen. You're looking at stuff and you say, oh my gosh, how do they do it? Well, they find a crease. And maybe it's not the running, maybe the guys, that's the passing lane he can throw to, but the pass is not the most positive thing he can do. He can run for 8 yards, 10 yards. So really the guys have got to sort of maintain their gap integrity or their lanes or whatever you want to call it. And then you got to make sure that when you do get your hands on him, you put him on the ground.
So who do you think the focus on the defensive line or the focus on the defense is tonight?
As far as our team is concerned?
As far as our team.
I think that, as much as we'd like to say that Damon Wilson is going to, he play a great game tonight, he does. But I think the guys that are going to be the ones that are keep Whittemore in check are going to be the 2 tight defensive tackles, Atkins and Kintai. I think they're going to be because, the first escape is up the middle, okay?
Right.
And if you get that going, then you really put yourself you're in the second level, and that can be difficult. But I think those 2 guys are going to be very key to stopping Whittemore's rushing ability. And then, of course, if Damon can get a pass rush, and he is, the thing about Damon makes him sort of, a unique player, to say the least, is his speed. because a guy his size who can run just about almost a 4.4 40,
Right.
You're not used to that. You know, you're a quarterback and you're saying, oh, here comes that big D, and I know if I can put it, I can go 75% and get away from every defensive end in the state. Maybe not tonight.
So Whittemore last week this was actually in October against Bartram Trail, 21 of 38 for 254, 104 on the ground, and he's got two really great wide receivers. One of them committed to the University of Alabama this past week, and you guys briefly talked about that on the John Peacock and Masoni podcast.
Yeah, they have a receiver that just committed to Alabama. They have another receiver, number 9, who while we're watching film, we're looking around the room and, you know, saying, wow, that guy looks like Amari Hayes.
Yeah.
The way he
runs.
You know, the way he makes people miss, and, you know, just with him with the ball. And we know how impressive Amari Hayes is, and, you know, you
Yes.
don't, you know, so you got a guy, we're comparing Amari Hayes, and you got a guy that's committed to Alabama, then you got, you know, the guy back there that's throwing the ball to him that could take it down and run, who we feel is, you know, one of the most explosive athletes we've seen on film in a long time. So needless to say, our defense, and Coach Shannon and Coach Wideline and Coach Heyer and Coach Hatler and all those guys on defense, you know, Coach Jones, I mean, they have their handfuls. They have a plate full, and you know, with all the confidence in the world, I know they're going to prepare our guys. And
So Hamilton was looked at by everybody, committed to the University of Alabama this past week, and Coach Nick Saban had a lot of great things to say about him. He's the number 34 ranked wide receiver and number 261st overall player in the country per 24/7 Sports. 847 yards on 38 catches and 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on defense. He's the go-to guy as wide receiver. They've also got another one that Coach talked about, number 9, Jakari Kelly, quick and explosive. Got to lock down those two receivers.
You compared him to Amari Hayes from our team from last year, one of those guys who could
Swiss Army knife.
just look like he could do everything. He can run the ball, run after the catch the ball. So a guy you really got to keep your eyes on as well. So, I mean, Whittemore's not doing it on his own. There's no doubt about that. So I think that, you know, so you say, oh, his feet seem to be a thing everybody's worried about. But you see, statistically, he can put the ball up and throw it around a little bit. Watch them a little bit in warm-ups, and he can throw the football pretty well. So it's going to be a test all around for Venice tonight. You've got the guys that have played really well all year in the secondary, and they got to step up their game again tonight. But again, I'm always this is the time you kind of look backwards at some things and you say to yourself, you know what? Maybe it's a good thing we played IMG. Maybe it's a good thing we played St. Francis, because now you got this experience. You know, you have a reference point in some point in time. You know, you say, hey, I've seen a guy like him. I've seen the potential of some of these guys and what they can do. So you're not going to be surprised by much. You can underestimate somebody, which is a huge mistake, but you're not going to be surprised.
So if you're watching out on Facebook and youtube.com/vibrantaspectmedia, we're going to flip over to the NFHS network feed. If you haven't purchased the ticket for tonight, $11.99 gets you tonight's game. You can watch the last couple of games on demand. NFHSnetwork.com/vibrantaspectmedia. You can watch it from the comfort of your own home on your couch, Apple TV, Google, Chromecast, Roku, Amazon Fire Stick. Any way you can watch it, you can watch it through the NFHS network. This is one that you don't want to miss. It's the finale here from Powell Davis Stadium. Hopefully not the finale of the season.
No.
We're 2 weeks away from the state championship game. Got to get through tonight. So make sure you buy your ticket to watch us get to DRV Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale tonight. We'll be back over on the NFHS network feed. Thanks for watching us live on Facebook. Let's go Indians.
Go Indians.